I'll start over. Okay, we're restarting this interview because that is actually the reality of the school that we work in. That is a common occurrence, and it's just one of the difficult things that teachers in this school have to put up with. So anyway, moving forward.
No, thank you, and I apologize for that.
No.
There's somewhere in their problem.
It's actually not. It's absolutely not your fault. The relationship between family income and the student's cultural background and educational achievement. So, do we think that's almost the first question? The second question again. Do you think that family income or cultural background influences, the level of education a student can receive?
It does. When we're talking about when I taught middle school, there were certain students I worked with. I mean, I taught in a community where it was a very affluent community, but some students didn't have a lot. So I had to be very sensitive to when I assigned homework assignments or home projects to do at home for the students that didn't have a lot of money.
Might not have the resources.
Parents worked all the time and they didn't get home till late, and there was a babysitter there.
Right. You had to keep that in mind.
It does affect their educational success or achievement. So either like teachers or schools have to give some after-school homework support, before-school homework support, which is something that I started in middle school. And the other thing that is tough is some families that have low income cannot go out and buy the supplies that they need to do these projects. So
you have to keep that in mind when you're...
You do. And there are some, so then you have these projects come in and it looks like the parents did it, and they have the greatest supplies and
you can tell the parents were more involved maybe than
Right,
yeah.
right. Yeah. So we would try to make sure we were sensitive to that and giving like a little shopping bag of supplies for the project they were going to do and say, without everybody seeing it, these are your supplies.
I see.
And
So
usually I'd have to go through the parents too, because the parents are very proud.
Right. Oh yeah, and they
But
don't
I
want...
would say, no, we're giving the kids,
Right.
a lot of the kids some supplies.
So do you think by grade 12, a poor student will receive the same education as a wealthy student?
Yes.
Yeah.
They receive it. What they do with it, though, may be different.
I agree.
Because of the home support. I think that the school systems I've worked in, and I've worked in now 1, 2, 3, 4, since I retired, I've had been in 2 other systems. There's an equality in what we're teaching.
Right.
And we're giving it to them. Some students accept it freely and move on. Some kids just learn despite of it all because they're just so smart. They have nothing to do with their great scores in school. Never those kids that need encouragement along the way. Some take it and go run with it, and some don't.
Yeah.
So I think kids are given the opportunity in our country and in the communities to have the best education they can get.
Right. So there are a lot of variables. There's not a yes or no kind of answer to that type of question. Do you believe that education is the best means for creating a stable and equitable society?
I do think it helps having an educated society, because then there are decisions that you make are more balanced decisions.
Right. And if not here, where?
What do you mean?
I mean, if we don't...
Right, if we're not going to give them to in our education system. To get them from families, and good family structures will give you like good sense of responsibility, how to act, different things. But education teaches children more than that, more than learning. It teaches them that there are certain standards they have to go by. There are certain expectations as a student in school, how to act. And
societal expectations.
So that then when they do go into college or into the big bad world and get a job,
they know how
it isn't all about me. It's all about how we've trained them to be responsible people.
Right.
So I do think the educational systems, good educational systems produce well-rounded adults.
So the second part of this question they're asking is, do you think our current educational system is up for the task?
Yes.
Yes.
I do think there's always room for improvement. And I think there's always room to improve in the fact that there are more students now that are in the public schools that used to be serviced outside of the public schools, whether they be some type of special needs students, physically disabled students. So now our systems are being
Full inclusion.
Yeah, more inclusion. So now we have to make sure that not only do we educate like we always have been for the kids who can learn, but now we have to find a way to educate the children who have different ways of learning.
And that's one of the difficulties we have in our school is we'll have different age groups in the same class because
Right.
they're just the closest together. Yeah.
Correct.
Let's number 5, analyze the issue of equality of educational opportunity. How does the interviewee see evidence of educational inequality? What measures can be taken to combat this? So I think the easiest way to answer this is just, have you ever seen evidence of educational inequality, or whatever that might mean to you?
Well, but by giving you a little background, I was a special educator for 20 years. Got me a master's in special education. And then I was very frustrated with MCAS and all the work I've been doing to help these students with special needs learn in spite of their disability, and giving them different avenues to learn it, and then giving MCAS and saying, sorry, but you can't use this and you can't use that. And these kids were tested so much anyway that why do I have to put them through an MCAS when every year, every 1 to 3 years, they're getting a bombardment of tests. So I left it and did regular ed for 10 years, 15 years, and so I could see the other side of it. And what I found was that this was, of course, I know I started in 75, so around in the 90s I started doing the regular education and including all students in my classroom.
Like public school, you mean?
In public school, 6th grade, and in middle school. So what I found was, being a special educator, is I found that the students that I worked with on educational plans, truly, the teachers weren't skilled enough to know how to deal with it, that they would actually kind of look over my kids. And
in the public school or in the special?
In public school.
Oh, I see.
And when I would go into the classrooms, I was either a potted plant, or I was someone who actually helped, or I did all the modifying and the accommodating and making different tests, or I helped the teacher teach. So I found that there was so many different ways that this poor kid, when he went into different classes, was
you had
seen
to adapt.
as a learner.
Yeah.
So when I went to regular education, I said, maybe it's hard to do. I'll see if I can do it. And my decision was is that, and I'm coming from a special education, whether it be someone it just seemed that the students that were very bright, the teachers loved to do things with them because they
It's easy.
look good,
Yeah.
they could do it. There
Yeah.
was those students that were difficult to teach.
Yeah.
So
So it's
I found that it is different. They are
Yeah.
treated differently, but I think it's beginning to change. And I think more teachers now are beginning to, like I did that, and it was interesting because before I retired from public school, teachers would come to me and ask me for advice. How did you get him to do that? Like he'd get up and do this project, and
because you would teach the whole class and not just to
him, or
right.
for his special project, I would have him do a video. He would get his brothers and sisters, and
You say him, is
is
he one of the slower students? That
one of my slower students who couldn't write it out and didn't like to get up in front of people. You find different ways, and when I shared this with my teachers, they were amazed that this kid could, number one, do that.
Because he'd probably
knew
never
so much
been given.
information, because the kid was like, wow. The social studies teacher, I remember saying, wow, I didn't even know he was listening to me
Yeah,
in class.
because you've never been given the opportunity
Right.
to show
So
it. Yeah.
yes, there are some instances where I even think the kids in some instances, the kids that are special ed and need help, and then the kids that are, we used to call accelerated or up here, then that middle group is kind of like not challenged enough. So I do worry about that.
So it sounds like we're teaching to the accelerated and the
Lower, and
the
those-
lower,
yeah.
and then the middle ones are kind of
Right.
lost in the wash
Right.
there. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's very difficult to teach today.
Yeah.
So I do think that in that way there's inequality. As far as inequality, like, the kids would, the students would all get to go to the media, all get to go here. They weren't,
Yeah.
it wasn't that was the inequality. If
Yeah.
you can't do this and these kids can do this. It was more the way that they were taught in the classroom.
Yeah. It wasn't like the rich kids can go play on a boat today, and the poor kids have to go do
never
this.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Never like that.
Exactly.
No.
Identify inequalities between schools and school districts that contribute to inequality of educational opportunity.
Yeah, and the only comment I would have there is that when I would go to conferences and meet other teachers from different school systems, that when we would have like share time or relate, I would notice that other school systems who had more money had better
Facility.
computers, facilities. They had like up and running computer labs that had printers, and they had mobile iPad stations like that could go into classrooms, and
So it's
the
easier to
classrooms-
teach in that kind of environment.
Very easy, because then you have your students who have horrible handwriting can use the iPads to type and print, which makes them feel a whole lot better. So in that case, I think there are inequalities between between school systems there are some school systems that say they don't want to put as much